Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And it looks like the first thing I have to go through right goddamn now is was or was not Mad Max 1 post-apocalyptic? I guess that depends on your definition of an apocalypse. If you mean after the bombs drop, it most certainly counts, considering the opening of Mad Max 2 goes over the backstory, very definitively stating that World War III happened, for reasons forgotten, the resulting conflict destroyed most of the world's oil, and that led to social collapse. It says, quote, "The world crumbled, the cities exploded, a whirlwind of looting, a firestorm of fear, men began to feed on men," unquote. This sets up it leading into the gangs taking over the highways, and then the events of Mad Max 1 taking place. Obviously, this is jumping in balls deep a lot harder and faster than I usually do, so you could tell I took a little umbrage with the notion that Mad Max 1 simply wasn't post-apocalyptic. I mean, if that doesn't describe post-apocalyptic, what the fuck does? But then again, according to the comics, World War III actually took place in between the events of Mad Max 1 and 2, so no matter what, according to the official media, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So, in my opinion, either Mad Max 1 was post-apocalyptic and wasn't very convincing in that regard, or Mad Max 2, aka The Road Warrior, retconned the fuck out of that. My money's on door number 1. Either way, due to the commercial success of Mad Max 1, at least outside of the very limited showing in the States, it shouldn't be too surprising that, like many low-budget surprise hits, a sequel was prepared in short order with much more money to back it up. Because it was a much bigger budget movie and would have a much wider release in America than the original, though, they decided not to call it Mad Max 2 over here like they called it in the rest of the world, and they just called it The Road Warrior. Although today, it's pretty much just known as Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior. While the opening I just rambled about doesn't exactly specify how long passes between the events of the first and the start of this movie, according to the creators, it's about 5 years. In that time, Max hardened from the road, and a broken man with no one left to go back to has just about become the street scum he hunted in the first place, hunting down prey on the highways to raid for gasoline. However, a freak turn of events leads him to one of the last settlements in the area, which just so happens to have a quest marker, and the preview of the quest reward is an amazing quantity of gas. And he can get enough fuel to last for minutes in that V8. But in order to do so, he has to help people, and that risks him rediscovering his humanity. Or he could do like I do in Fallout and just shoot the motherfuckers and take their stuff. So let's take a look at Mad Max 2 and see just what Max's karma turns out to be. After that opening that I already went over, so no need to do this again, well, at least I can say the first thing that struck me about it is how similar it looks to an early 90s Windows CD-ROM game. Anyhow, once we're all caught up, the movie starts off on the right foot in a high-speed car chase. And immediately I can point out that while Mad Max 1 looked fantastic, especially considering its incredibly low budget, Mad Max 2 in the first few seconds manages to soundly exceed those standards. Reintroducing Max, played by Mel Gibson, who is this time joined by Dogmeat out in the wastes. In fact, I'm pretty sure this movie is what inspired that recurring Fallout companion in the first place. Anyway, while Max does have a fast enough car to avoid most confrontations, the fact that he's extremely low on fuel does mean he has to deal with this encounter a bit differently. Fortunately, he can count on the fact that bad guys and goons all seem to have trouble remembering to take into account what's behind their target and can easily be fooled into shooting each other with remarkable consistency. This gives Max the perfect opportunity to ram them in the ass, which leads to the two raiders slamming into each other, trashing their rides. Oh well, sucks to be them. Time to loot the gas. But there's still the bike left over. Introducing Vernon Wells as Wes, and the blonde is the golden youth played by Jerry O'Sullivan. As they obviously love each other and are an assless chaps, but that doesn't mean anything. One of the creators, many years later, said they're not actually an item. You see, there was supposed to be this scene where Wes finds the blonde as a little boy and decides to raise him like a son, and that's why they so obviously love each other. I mean, pay no attention to the fact that there was never any kind of deleted scene or storyboard or even rough scripts found that corroborated the story. And there was some evidence found that the golden boy was originally supposed to be female, but never mind any of that. Terrified at their impressive establishing shot, Max goes to collect as much gas as he can as quickly as possible. Thing is, Wes is just here to establish his badassery, slowly removing the bull before leaving Max alone so the movie may continue. This allows him to scavenge the wreck at his leisure, checking out the big rig the raiders ran into in the first place. Seems that Max wasn't the first to check, though. Someone's already been there and left a very unconvincing dummy in the driver's seat. It does allow Max to discover the plot-relevant music box, though, and with that, he continues drifting through the wastes in constant search for food and fuel. In a surprising bit of luck, he happens to cross a gyrocopter abandoned by the side of the road with a single set of footprints leaving it. But a snake remains. No bother. Problem is that Gyro Captain, Bruce Spence, who plays the Gyro Captain, well, he was laying in wait, just ready to strike on anyone foolish enough to try to steal his gas. Held at a crossbow point, Max is made to disarm himself, and after Max tells Bruce his gas tank is booby-trapped anyway, so thieves like him would only kill themselves trying to get it, the captain decides to let him live long enough to disarm said trap.
Hey! A fella. A quick fella. Might have a weapon under there.
Define weapon. And according to some, this is a tool. A hard, sharp tool that I have used to decapitate many people with. Remaining one step ahead of the protagonist, Bruce is sure not to let Max in the car where he might drive away. He'll finish disarming the trap himself.
Fuel! Gasoline! Thousands of gallons of as much as you want!
Resulting in more shit happening at once than I could rattle off in a voiceover. Dogmeat saves the day, and Max pulls out another knife from a sheath that he just has a hell of a lot of those just everywhere. But Bruce says don't kill him because he knows of a massive quantity of gas just ripe for the taking. This is a funny thing for him to know about considering he's out here in the middle of nowhere trying to steal comparatively small amounts of gas, but still. They do explain it quickly enough that the tanker full of gas is very well guarded, but Bruce is sure Mel's got what it takes to score the fuel. Of course, he won't tell unless Max lets him live. With that in mind, they go on a road trip. Still, Bruce must be kept in check, so he's tied up and held at gunpoint. By Dogmeat. Damn, I want that mod. After they arrive, we learn that there's a settlement in need of help. The tanker, it seems, is immobile, and the community here is under constant attack by marauders. As they aren't keen on letting strangers in willy-nilly, Bruce cut his losses and looked for easier pickings elsewhere. Now that the location has been revealed, the deal is complete.
Look, we had a deal. I show you the gas and you let me go, right?
The arrangement was I wouldn't kill you.
After all I've done for you...
I reckon you got a bargain, didn't you?
Even though Mel Gibson has less than 20 lines for this entire movie, I have to admit he makes them count. It turns out he's not leaving, though, instead camping out for a while to observe the refinery/fortress and the constant attacks from the marauders. Eventually, the gate does open briefly, allowing a few cars to leave the defenses. They don't go far, however, before the raiders attack. Still not a reason to swoop in and save the day, though, so Max just watches from on high as they drag a woman out of her car and proceed to rape her. Still, no reason to rush, just watch. Okay, most of them are leaving now. Alright, time to swoop in and save the innocent people. I get that Max is an anti-hero, but that doesn't mean he has to suck at his job. Oh, wait, the other dude's still alive? Barely. He begs to be helped back to his fortress, but Max doesn't really give much of a damn. He won't bother taking him until the guy agrees that if he does, he can have as much gas as he likes. With that out of the way, he takes the guy back to the settlers, who are less than trusting of Max's intentions, not willing to allow him to come in. That's at least until they realize the man he's got is one of theirs, at which point he can come in, with a bow to his head, but you take what you can get. This doesn't exactly go according to plan, however.
We had an arrangement.
What do you mean, an arrangement?
You talk to this man.
If you had a contract, it was with him. And it died with him.
So even if we had a defibrillator and could bring him back, you'd still be fucked on the gas. And that's how it works. I saw it in Evil Dead. Introducing Papagallo, played by Michael Preston. As they have no use for Max, they do what all good people do, and decide to take his stuff and see what things of value they can scavenge. The plan is interrupted, though, when the marauders show back up using several prisoners as human shields on their cars, ready to taunt the people some more. They do exhibit impressive showmanship, though, as they introduce Lord Humongous.
The Ayatollah of rock and roller!
I'm gravely disappointed.
Played by Kjell Nelson. Kjell. Though it's said that the original plan was to have Goose lead the Marauders, but that's not exactly what happened in the final product. Rather, Lord Humongous is more of a mysterious character, imposing and cold, with his face hidden behind a mask, though evidence suggests there's good reason for that. His villain speech is interrupted, though, by the feral child, played by Emil Minty. Damn! I know some movies kill off the kids to show that no one is safe, but what exactly does it mean when the movie has the kids killing off everyone else? This obviously upsets Wes, and Humongous has to keep him in line, because now's not the time to attack them. To the settlers, Humongous promises they will live, so long as they leave peacefully and let him and his S&M gang have all the gas. With that, he leaves, and the people start arguing amongst themselves over whether they should listen to the very reasonable Lord Humongous, or take Papagallo's word that even if they do what he says, out in the wasteland they'd all die anyway. Still, they don't have a means to escape with the gas, so it seems death is inevitable. Hold on, though. Max knows about the vehicle strong enough to take the tanker of fuel, and is willing to help. For a price, of course. As much gas as he can carry when he finishes, and the fuel he needs to pull the job off right now.
Think of it as a down payment.
And that's the last we'll ever see of him.
He has to come back for his wheels. What have we got to lose?
Quite a lot, actually. That gas is worth a shitload in the wasteland. That's why you're in the situation you're in right now. And a con artist would have a field day with you people. Nevertheless, they agree to Max's proposal, providing him with enough fuel for the job, and giving him a chance to slip out under the cover of night. Like, real night, not that day for night bullshit. Anyway, thanks to the feral kid covering his ass, he manages to slip past the Marauders' camp and track down Bruce once more. Using him as you would any Fallout companion to haul your shit, they return to the gyrocopter's copter/trap, which seems to have netted a scavenger while they were away. No bother, this means Max can loot the corpse and find one decent-looking shotgun shell, which is more than he had before.
How do we know that one's not a dud?
Find out.
Cool.
And it's funny that they have such a hard time finding ammo, considering that after the Australian gun ban, the amount of guns in the country actually increased. Then again, in this timeline, World War III happened before the Australian gun ban had a chance to, so I guess it makes sense. With the help of the gyrocopter, Max takes to the skies. With the bird's eye view, they easily track down the big rig, and Max takes it back to the settlement. Problem is, an 18-wheeler in the middle of the day isn't exactly subtle. Not the best way to charge into combat, but a great view of those assless chaps. What, a man can like his assless chaps? Besides, Wes is alerting the rest of the GIMP squad of the new target. This means we get more kick-ass vehicular action as Max tears through the waste, trying desperately to get into the settlement in one piece. Another problem he's having is that Humongous has a .44 Magnum revolver at his disposal with a special collector's edition case. But not only was the shell completely useless, the Magnum round slammed into the rig, causing severe damage to the engine. Not enough to stop it, though, so Max is still able to power through and pull into the refinery fortress. However, so did several of the Marauders, which means the action scene isn't over yet. I have to commend the cinematography at work here. While the cuts can be quick, as action is like that, it's very easy to follow and understand exactly what's going on. By the end of it all, Max and the people fight off the few that made it inside, and Wes escapes to fight another day. Also, the people seem strangely more welcoming of strangers, letting Bruce land there and settle in no problem.
Tell me, son. This machine of yours, it can take two, can it?
Possibly.
According to many, this is actually a goof, because gyroplanes can't carry more than 2 people. The scenes they had with 2 people on the thing, one of them was a dummy, because it would be too heavy to carry if they had 2 actual full-grown people. Except when it comes to the amount of people they can carry, the max weight limit is like 300 pounds, so... Bruce is one skinny fuck. Unfortunately, the damage done to the rig is pretty nasty, and even though they can repair it, it's going to take them half a day to do it. No bother though, they can celebrate the hero Max, who has surely saved them, showering him with praise and some free shotgun shells. Not that Max gives much of a fuck, he did his job and wants to leave as soon as possible. Thing is, they really like him now and want him to stick around and help drive the tanker full of gas down to their destination.
This is where we're going. Paradise. 2,000 miles from here. Fresh water, plenty of sunshine.
Oh, fuck sunshine, you got too damn much of that already. Where the hell's the ice cream? Max still has no desire to stay with this group, which is quite surprising to Papagallo. After correctly surmising that Max has social problems because he lost his family, he chastises him for giving up the future he could have to drift and scrape by on whatever crap he can find. Either way, Max still wants to leave, and will do so alone even if he has to kick the feral kid out of his car to do it. Thing is, while he's got his kick-ass V8 that can outrun most everything, the Marauders have their vehicles equipped with fucking nitro, allowing them to speed up the camera and catch up to anything. It still gets me that, this is the wasteland. This is post-apocalyptic oil, gas, super rare. They're going around in V8s and truck cabs, guzzling it all down. I mean, is it just me, or would it be a lot smarter if they were more efficient about it? Like if the Marauders, their whole gang, just had hybrid smart cars that they'd welded spikes to. And don't tell me that would look stupid. They go around in motherfucking studded leather codpieces. Unfortunately for Max, though, not long after he gets his freedom back, his super rare V8 Interceptor is totaled, and he's not doing much better. By the time they go down to kill him and steal his gas, though, it seems he's shuffled his way back behind a rock, which they easily find. Evil! Evil! I mean, they raped and murdered women earlier, and they've been using prisoners as human shields and killing lots of people, but that was just too far. But remember that booby trap on the gas tanks? It actually manages to save Max's life, and convince Wes that everyone down there is dead, so no reason to bother to, check bodies, see if there's anything worth looting or anything like that. Besides, I'm sure Max has good insurance anyway. Things still look pretty bad for Max, but who would happen to swoop down from the skies but our old friend Bruce? This allows him to carry the man back to the settlement, giving him the chance to wake up just in time to hear the people argue over who's going to take the risk of driving the tanker itself down towards paradise. Whether it's because he's regained his humanity or he just doesn't have a ride anymore, Max volunteers to help and doesn't even request any payment to do it.
I'm the best chance you've got.
Right now I'm seeing double, and that is twice as many routes as I can take to avoid the Marauders. That's good enough for him, so everyone gears up and prepares to kick off the climax. Yes, there's 20 minutes of movie left, but that only makes the car chase that much more awesome. Of course, as a critic, I've got two jobs here. First is simple, explain what's going on accurately. Car chase! Second is to say what I think about it. It's huge, the biggest vehicular action scene in this entire movie, and full of characters we've had a good 70 minutes to get to know, which helps it feel meaningful. Kinda like watching that place you spent all movie huddled in for safety blow the fuck up. One of the reasons they filmed the events in this movie chronologically. And it's rare in movies, but not unheard of. They did the same thing in the Evil Dead remake. Nevertheless, as Max tears through the wastes with the entire community at his back, the whole Marauder gang pulls in to kill them and steal the tanker. Plenty of characters we've grown to know over the course of this film are very quickly and easily killed off by the raiders. The feral kid, however, stays by Max's side, which, well, take it for what it is. I think he's comic relief, but it's just not what I would have taken. But Max isn't that great of a babysitter, though, trying to get the child to do the most dangerous things he can find.
Get the bullet! Bullet! Get up!
That's a shell, Max. Shotguns fire shot, or slugs. Unless you stick a 454 Casull into your 410 shotgun, then it can fire a bullet, but it blows up. It only happened once. The shell proves to be a little harder to procure than anticipated. That's the least of their problems. Still not sure if Humongous was just not aware that Max was right over that hill, or he was perfectly cognizant of what he was doing, was just so tired of Wes's shit. Either way, twist ending! The Marauders are defeated, but the tanker truck has taken one hit too many and crashed alongside of the road. Thing is, there was never any gas in it to begin with. The whole thing's full of sand. Turns out the tanker was a diversion, and the people hid the gas away in the bus instead. As the story comes to a close, we find that they made the journey north towards paradise, but Max stayed behind in the wastes where he belongs.
And the Road Warrior. That was the last we ever saw of him.
Or it was supposed to be, but you just can't stop that Hollywood sequel machine. Although Mad Max isn't a Hollywood series, it's made in Australia, and Hollywood's definitively in California. But yeah, fuck it, you know what I mean. Anyway, that was Mad Max 2, aka the definitive Mad Max movie. 20 minutes in and I was already telling myself this is 100 times better than the original. Not just because it showcases the kind of things we commonly associate with Mad Max today, but as a movie in and of itself, it's simply more entertaining. The visuals are sharper, the characters are more varied, and the world is infinitely more interesting. Perhaps the biggest hit the sequel takes compared to the first is the character of Max, strangely enough. While I didn't like the slow scenes in the first as it meticulously went over Max's family life, he did have something other than the road. Here he has a dog, but even then we don't see much of a relationship there beyond a mutual appreciation of cuisine. Other than that, though, the characters are all around varied and interesting. I feel like the Humongous and Wes villains were kind of like Toe Cutter split in two, with Wes exhibiting his more violent, crazy nature, and Humongous the stoic, dangerously cunning side. Also, when it comes to characters, while they are all distinct in their own way, the movie knows when not to say anything about them. At least half of them don't even have names, but did they really need them? We never learn the deal behind Humongous's mask, but in a way that makes it more interesting. It's a way to add depth to the world without throwing a ton of unnecessary details at it. Overall, Mad Max 2 is so insanely different from the first, it's easy to see why there's so much dispute over how the two mesh together, even in official media. There are certainly flaws to be found in this film, but are they enough to dampen the overall experience? I'd argue against that, and feel Mad Max 2 comes in at 5 super valuable gallons of gas out of 5. Like I said, there are flaws, but I can deal with some unconvincing corpse dummies and child acting if it means we get some of the most kick-ass stunts ever put on film, one of which involved a man actually breaking his leg. That whole thing, it wasn't really supposed to happen like that, but, thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado, and remember, you can rule the wastelands in a Tesla! You know, provided you have some solar panels to charge it with, which also takes oil to manufacture, so, well, fuck.
This